Today I will be reviewing Halo Wars. I've never done a full review before, so I figured why not start with a console RTS game. I've heard a few disappointments in this being an installment in a series that is primarily a first-person shooter. I enjoy strategy games and found this one very fun, but I will also be taking a look at some of the places where it fell a bit short. So without further add-ons, let's begin. Halo Wars is one of the few real-time strategy games to exist on console using a controller rather than a computer with a mouse and keyboard. It was the only one I knew about at the time, so this was a unique experience to play a game like this on an Xbox. I won't be going too deep into the history of development and the entire storyline of the game like the retrospectives. I enjoy those, but this is from the perspective of a very casual gamer who played other Halo games and other RTS games. Then I stumbled onto this one, like, they made Halo into a strategy game? Okay, let's see where this goes. I'd say it goes well. My brother and I rented this game on the Xbox 360 and we couldn't stop playing it. We'd played other games like this on the computer but found the simplicity of this one much easier to grasp for ADD minds. There's a ghost in the Warthog. Oh, okay, there we go. The Warthog is a scout unit in this game that really likes that glowing stuff. Apparently, I don't know why he did that. I'm not too sure what that was about.
I'm not asking and I'm not telling.
Right. So, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. The base building is quick and easy, making a potential restart a bit less painful than other certain RTS games. I would also consider it a downside, unfortunately. It's so simple that it takes all the creativity out of making a base. For each base that you make, you know that you can only build 7 smaller buildings and 4 towers. That's it. But it does encourage you to keep moving and keep base building, which is something I often forget to do in other games. The graphics are good. This is the definitive edition. I don't remember what they used to look like on the original, and I'm not trying to compare them, but I like it. I remember them looking pretty much as good as they do on this one back then. Right, one of my favorite things about this game has always been how cinematic it is. The gameplay is just as smooth, especially thanks to a feature that I've never seen in any other RTS game to this point. A special command called
All units.
That's right, the press of one button allows you to select all of your units to command at once. This makes it so much easier to gather your forces to attack. Usually in games like this, the selection is limited, so you have to shuffle between groups. That always made it more tedious to command a whole army, so having one button to do it is a breath of fresh air. One of my most favorite, most overused features in this entire game. LB is my life's blood.
Act improved. All units. All units. All units.
Yeah. Then you got the more domestic alternative.
Local units.
This allows you to select only the units on screen so that you're not calling all your units to go do one thing, which I usually end up doing anyway.
Summit complete.
I like how they recorded multiple tones of the same phrase just to make it a little bit less repetitive, plus it's kind of entertaining as well.
Local units. Local units.
Local units. I'm not mad, okay? I'm just asking that you please be quiet and respect my rules.
War is hell, and I'm the devil.
I'll see you after class, Private. I know I said I was going to review the game, and I've been messing around a lot. This is just for fun after all, but I will get down to brass tacks. I said I wouldn't go too deep into the story and development. What I meant was not at all. I'm not going to start showing pictures of CEOs and stuff. There's enough reviewers who got that kind of stuff covered. I will say that Halo was already successful in its field. I enjoyed every Halo game I've played. They didn't have to try a different genre, but they did, and I appreciate it. That's the history of development section. As for the story, I will show and talk about some of the campaign, so there will be slight spoilers, but not much. I don't have the knowledge that true Halo fans do, so I really couldn't spoil it that bad anyway. There's this caring captain and bitter scientist that work together a lot.
Understood, Captain.
Seems like a real bundle of fun. And there's the pre-Cortana equivalent, Serena. This takes place 20 years before the Halo event, so she wasn't born yet or whatever. Then of course you got Forge, just a standard army hero who wants to protect the innocent. Nothing to hate, and nothing that really stands out. You could say he's kind of dull, but I don't really see it as a bad thing. A standard protagonist. The campaign is interesting. Campaign as in singular. Unlike traditional RTS games that have a campaign for each race, this only has one. I mean, I get it, there's a lot of cutscenes and cinematics to make it a main story, and they probably didn't have time or the budget to do that twice. But I kinda would have preferred less cutscenes and cinematics if it meant having a campaign for the Covenant as well, so you would have a chance to learn their units and structures in a nice campaign fashion. But you can't have everything. One important note to make is, remember to save. I know that sounds obvious, but the game doesn't really mention manual saving because of its autosave feature. But there is a huge flaw in the autosaving. If you complete a mission and need to quit, be sure to start the next mission, then save, then exit. Never select the quit option assuming it saved the progress of that mission, because it might not, and I find that to be a huge oversight. Imagine beating a tough level that took you forever, seeing the victory screen and all the stats, given an option to start the next mission or to quit. One might naturally think, I'm tired, I'll start the next mission tomorrow, only to get back on the next day and realize you have to beat that entire mission again. This can be infuriating if you didn't know. It's not a matter of any subjective opinions of gameplay, it's simply a huge mistake in design. Another thing to keep in mind is the difficulty of the campaign is not included when you start. You have to select that separately in the main menu. It's not a big deal and should have been pretty obvious, but I figure it's worth mentioning. By the time I figured this out, I'd gone too far to go back to easy, so I cleared the campaign on normal. Now, on to some of the missions.
All units.
At first, the campaign is very easy and seems like a decent way to learn or brush up on the controls. They either focus on adventure, like getting your units from one place to another with many obstacles along the way, or a simple build a base and wipe out the enemy standard kind of mission. Not too much to get the hang of. That is, until Mission 4. I'm sure there's plenty of people who had no problem with it and would just say I'm not good at RTS games. But neither is every Halo fan, right? They ease you in so gently to this new take on a Halo game. Then after 3 very easy missions, they just throw you to the wolves. Mission 4 is the quintessential save the civilians task that seems to be in every RTS campaign I've ever played. I was never the biggest fan of missions that involve babysitting NPCs in any game, and I have several grievances with this one in particular. It was too soon to throw in something so chaotic. Many later missions are much easier. I find the intensity to be misplaced. You have to protect 2 ships from being destroyed. It starts out as 3, then one pilot just loses it and blows up.
Under fire! Screw the evac! Proceeding with emergency launch! We're hit! We're hit! Somebody help! Please!
Was it something I said? As far as I can tell, this happens no matter what, so it's really just two ships you're trying to protect. Simple enough, except for one thing. The Banshees. Oh my god, the Banshees. They have zero regard for their own life, and full regard for aggravating yours. Even if you wisely distribute your forces to both ships, it seems they'll inevitably take damage anyway because the Banshees come from nowhere and fire right at them instead of your forces. And when you take one down, it just has to do a kamikaze dive right into the civilian ship. Those transports seem to have a lot of health at first, but look away for a second and it's almost gone. The amount of attacks on the transports are totally random, making the difficulty inconsistent. During my first attempt, the transports were under constant attack and I couldn't do much of anything before I failed. Other times they were just chilling. There's no pattern at all. I understand this is war, but this game just started and this is crazy. And if you lose at any point during this mission, there are cutscenes and bits of dialogue you have to see and hear over and over again.
Spirit to fire, this is Arcadian Patrol. Civilians entering the city are getting blocked by hostile forces. We need to clear that area. Can you assist? Arcadia Ground Control, this is Forge. We're inbound to aid in evacuation efforts. Help is on the way.
Damn it, Forge, I'm getting real tired of hearing you say that. And what's wrong with his face during these in-mission dialogue sequences? He doesn't look like that any other time. I know they use this type of animation with every character, but Forge got the worst of it. Looks fishy, the head sticking out of a circle like the Looney Tunes. Is this why we didn't get a Covenant campaign? What's the deal?
Remove this filth!
I know it probably sounds like the rantings of someone who just sucks and got mad, but I've played this mission a few times now, and my beef with it remains consistent whether I win or lose. For example, you're given a ton of new features to use at your base for this mission that you may overlook if you're kept busy by relentless waves. After being heavily restricted for 3 simple missions, you suddenly have access to a bunch of new buildings and upgrades. This should be an exciting experience you can really absorb, and maybe some did. But I found this early mission too stressful to think, nice, I have air units and a field armory now. I see this as a rushed introduction to a lot of new features I otherwise enjoy. It wasn't until my second playthrough I realized you can heal the transport ships. Oh. I've yet to mention that certain units in this game come in clusters of a few troops that count as one unit, like a hive or a plant, if you will. I noticed that a cluster loses troops as the health bar drops, so I was curious of what happens when you heal them. Sure enough, they simply come back to life. But where are they coming from exactly? Okay, so all I gotta do is protect these 2 ships. Shit. Okay, so all I gotta do is protect this one ship until the time runs out. But of course the waves get more intense at the last few minutes. This is where I often lost, and where I recommend to create a manual save, which I'd have done if I was smart. I gotta say, this mission succeeds in portraying the feeling of being overrun in a place you cannot stay. So I actually give credit to it for it creating a sense of helplessness, chaos, and panic. Yay. Moving on. There are some interesting missions after that. I'd go into detail about all of them, but that would be a lot. I want this first review to be a reasonable sized project I can actually finish. Now it's time for the heart and soul of the game. Skirmish mode. This is where you can use all features unrestricted. In the standard skirmish rounds, you start with a simple base and 1 scout unit. So does the opponent, however many there are. You can set in the menu how many opponents and allies you have, their skill level, and a decent number of maps to choose from as well. I actually haven't played this game online. Any other RTS games I've played on the internet, I just couldn't keep up. Whether it was me or the internet. Usually me. If I struggle to beat bots on the legendary difficulty, I don't think I'd fare too well against other players. I'm not great at video games, I just enjoy them. But if I've had as much fun as I have fighting bots on the heroic difficulty in my safe little world, I'm sure more competitive gamers could have countless hours of fun. Online or offline, there's a fair amount of variety. There's even whole skirmish modes I've never bothered to try. I just enjoy trying different strategies on standard rounds. I'm boring, but that's not the game's fault. You can pick the humans or the Covenant to play as. If you play the campaign, you should already have a good idea of how the human race works. If you haven't played as the Covenant yet, it may take some time to adjust to the differences. The main issue for me is how similar all the buildings look, especially once I build a shield generator. I can't even tell what I'm looking at. I may gravitate toward the humans, but I enjoy both. There are some awesome benefits of the Covenant. 10 extra on the maximum unit capacity. That's a big deal, almost kinda cheap. If the humans and Covenant are both fighting each other with the largest army possible, the Covenant is gonna have a bigger army. That's not fair. Another big deal of the Covenant is their Uber unit, the Scarab. Either shout for joy or scream in terror, depending on what side you're on.
Uh-oh, the enemy is building a Scarab.
These things can single-handedly wipe out entire armies and bases. They cross mountains and obliterate any kind of unit within seconds. Their massive health and devastating attack power make them a force to be reckoned with. But with the right army, they can be defeated. If you're the Covenant fighting the Covenant, you might encounter a Scarab versus Scarab situation. And even better, you can build 2 of them. Yeah, double the Scarab. The humans have a variety of Uber units depending on which captain you pick. These include Grizzly tanks, Hawks, and ODST troops. Another human Uber unit that can always be trained with the right tech level no matter which captain you have is the Vulture. It is very powerful, especially with the missile barrage upgrade, a base killer in the right setting. I like the Spartans, who can hijack enemy vehicles just like in the other Halo games. It's a neat ability that makes sense and is always fun to see. An interesting default option in this game is to have an advisor telling you what the enemy is doing.
All units.
The enemy may be preparing to assault this base.
On the way.
What do you mean, maybe? I mean, it helps, but that kind of takes some of the strategy out of sending scouts to investigate. Either way, with my attention span, it can be helpful. Not always. The warnings tend to be poorly timed or just entirely pointless.
Beware, he now has hunters.
Oh, the hunters are the problem, not the Scarab. Okay, good to know. Thanks a lot. Instead of worker units who gather resources, you just build supply pads, or warehouses if you're the Covenant. Once built, they bring in a steady income of supplies. You can build as many as you want, balancing them with other essential buildings. Your tech level determines the upgrades you can get. The more reactors you build, the higher your tech level. This is if you're playing as humans. You can also upgrade a reactor once to reach another tier. But that's expensive, and I find it much more efficient to build more later on at another base.
Complete.
If you're playing as the Covenant, you upgrade your tech level at the temple. It's expensive, but it's a permanent upgrade. If it gets destroyed, your tech level goes down to 0 until you build it again. Then it's right back where you had it. No big deal. If you're playing as the humans and your reactors get destroyed, you have to build them again, costing the same amount of resources it did to build them the first time. This can make repairing your base quite expensive. In these skirmish maps, you start with one base. From there you can find extra build sites, which usually have to be cleared of neutral hostiles. These are CPU enemies who aren't an active team. They are included within the map and only occupy certain areas. They can come in the form of rogue humans, the Flood, or these weird folding bases of the Ancients. That's right, hit the road, Jack. Aside from main build sites, you can find things like reactors that can be claimed for one free tech level. There's also small build sites that allow you to build a couple small buildings and some turrets rather than a whole base.
Our ally is attempting to exploit the special features of this area.
That's what he means when he says that. As for hero units, they are a staple of most RTS games. A special leader unit on the field with abilities that other units don't have. The humans get several hero units for the campaign, but none for the skirmish rounds, oddly enough. But the Covenant do. Depending on which captain you pick, you get different advantages. For the humans, the advantages are different Uber units that can be trained, and other various perks. Sometimes a special attack as well that can be done from the base, like the Matic Blast. Oh yeah.
Barracks complete. All units. Base under attack.
No! You threw off my groove!
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
For the Covenant, picking the captain actually gives you a special unit on the field who has the special attacks, which can be very devastating. The Arbiter's special move, if controlled by a human player, is a force to be reckoned with. It costs a lot of resources, but it can save your life. Just beware the common glitch of the Arbiter getting stuck in one spot after using the ability. This caught me off guard at first. All you have to do is reactivate his special for a second to move him, and that usually fixes it. Another convenient thing about this RTS is that the units don't have to be specified whether to attack any threats on their way to a destination. They will fight back automatically on their way if they can. If you want them to stop and fight, you just tell them. The downside is that sometimes they won't defend themselves if the enemy is attacking from far enough away. This gets kinda irritating. Like this situation here. Like, come on, man, do I really have to tell you not to die? Go attack them. Another thing to keep in mind. Air and land units will not travel together, even if they're all ordered together. This is the same as many other RTS games too. The air units will take the most direct path and will usually get there first, which can get them killed, so be careful. I usually do one-on-one matches. You can try spicing it up a little with team matches, but as is the downside to playing with bots, your allies tend to be a bit dull-witted. They never seem to be as good as the enemy players, even on the same skill level. Most times they don't help at all if you're being attacked, and most of their efforts result in complete failure.
Our ally attacked unsuccessfully.
They mean well, but they often just end up getting in the way. I mean, look at this. My ally claimed this barrier that keeps both our forces from advancing. He won't budge, so all my land units are now useless.
We should flare one of their supply pads if we would like them to send us some.
No, I don't need your stuff, I just need you to move your ass. But that time, the ally was honestly trying to help. Other times, however, they'll go and do stuff like this, like stealing your base right after it gets destroyed. Being a jerk. Good, that's what you get. Now I can build my base again. You can set your ally to legendary, but that's just a guaranteed victory at that point.
Our ally will soon control this base.
I'm sure he will. What I eventually found out about AI is their skill level affects the health and attack power. So a legendary bot's units are all built like tanks. It's an odd way to go about difficulty in a game like this. I feel like an RTS game's challenge should really just depend on the AI's strategy, not their health bar. Their strategy actually is vastly improved on Legendary, so the extra perks just makes it crazy. You can also change things up by selecting teams of mixed races. It can get kinda confusing though. Oh no, I destroyed my own base. Wait, no, okay, I'm good. I noticed the game is generally more difficult with more players in the map. A match against one AI on the heroic difficulty is fine, but 2 or 3 and it's chaos. But it adds to the next layer of challenge and a little bit of chance to make it interesting. I never quite know how a team skirmish will go, so it's all the more satisfying when it goes well.
Turret complete. Warehouse complete. All units. Turret complete. Engineer ready. Base under attack.
God, what the hell, man? All I want is my all units chant. Is that so much to ask? God. Alright, I'm good now. After playing it for a while, the lack of variety is where it falls short. Having only 2 races to choose from, it can get kinda stale. You can try the different captains, I guess, like this guy.
The journey awaits.
Why does he sound like a British explorer? I thought he was supposed to be some kind of evil alien overlord. I don't know. In making this review, I've done so many skirmish rounds now that victory just feels a bit bland.
You are victorious.
Yay. I know there's whole features of the game I don't bother to try, and if I did, I wouldn't stack it on this video with everything else. It's strange to finally get to play this game so much that I'm actually getting tired of it. How can it be? It's just because too much of anything is a bad thing after a while. The impressive thing is how long it took to get tired of it. There's many games I enjoy that I couldn't stand to play for this long, so getting burnt out is no fault of the game. I enjoyed the ride. Well, I guess it's about time to wrap this up. In conclusion, it was a daring venture to make this game. They really went out of their element and into a different genre, on a system not usually designed for it, and it all worked out surprisingly good. And for a Halo game that's so different from the others, so many things about it feel the same. Aside from a few nitpicks, the overall experience is a positive one for me. Halo Wars will always be one of my favorite RTS games, for its simple, user-friendly mechanics. I've had a lot of fun playing this game and making this review. Thanks for watching.